Hello, and it's Joanne Sweeney here from Public Sector Marketing Institute, and I'm coming to you from the west of Ireland, from Galway City, to introduce you to the State of Social Media in the Public Sector United States of America report for 2021. This has been a mammoth task over the past. Absolutely thrilled to unveil the results for you today at our launch event. Obviously, it's happening virtually. I can't be with you in the United States, but it's great that we've all come together for a shared purpose of really understanding and acknowledging the role that social media plays in government and public sector communications. The report has been done in collaboration with Rojas Communications based in California, and it's been great to collaborate with somebody working on the ground with extensive experience in political communications, public sector communications, PR, and digital. So you will hear from Jaime a little bit later on. So what did we cover and what were we trying to find out? Well, in the first instance, this is not the first study that I have done in relation to looking at social media for your sector. In fact, this is the fourth. I started a number of years ago and I wanted to look at the Irish perspective. Obviously, I'm based here. And then I had a look at 3 states in Australia. In 2020, I went back to Ireland. And so it was time for me to move into a new market. And so the collaboration with Jaime was born. So what are we trying to find out? Well, we're trying to find out what is the standard of social media use in your sector, who is doing it well, but more importantly, why are they doing it well, and what is the benchmarks for success? So as I bring you through the methodology and the results of the study, you will get a deeper insight into what metrics matter when it comes to social media. This is a quantitative study, and so let me give you the high-level figures. 736 state and federal agencies were profiled. 2,112 social networks analysed. 9 core metrics were considered over a period of 90 days, and then finally across 4 social networks: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So that quantitative analysis brings us around the success metrics that we should be looking at. And we have winners and we have top performers state by state. I also took some time to have a look at some qualitative data, and mainly around content form, content frequency, and content format. The report is absolutely massive, but I tell you, it is a great piece of work, if I do say so myself, in that it gives you almost like a handbook and a how-to guide of what you should be doing and what you should be looking for if you want to elevate the standard of social media communications over the next 12 months. So I'm delighted to have you here. And if you're also watching the replay, it's great to have you on board. Please feel free to join the conversation online. The hashtag is SocialGovUSA, and we'll be continuing the conversation around this long after the launch webinar ends. But for now, thank you for joining us, and we will get into the results of the report. Hello, everyone, and it's great to be with you live. As I said, I'm coming to you from Galway in the west of Ireland, but we also have our collaborators coming to you live from Los Angeles in California, and I understand it's slightly warmer and sunnier with you. It's a little bit grey and overcast here in Ireland, guys. How are you?
We're doing great. How about yourself, Joanne?
Yeah, it's wonderful to be here. Obviously, there's been a lot of behind the scenes work, and it's a great feeling to finally be here at launch stage, right?
Oh, for sure.
Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to be able to launch this.
Yeah, well, it's been a great collaboration, and we go from the west of Ireland to stateside, and really shared knowledge and shared experience. But I do believe what we have created is something of huge value to those that are watching and those that are profiled in the report. But without further ado, let's get into the report itself. We're going to come back and speak to you guys a little bit later on when we go to our panel discussion and we open the virtual floor to all of our attendees. So let's have a think about what this report actually does and the methodology that we went through. So it really brings you right across the United States of America. And in fact, there were 17 states profiled. And in fact, having those early conversations with Jaime, it was really around, where should we put our efforts and what do we want to achieve? So you can see that it's a broad report. And of course, we have 17 states there, over 2,000 social networks from over 1,700 government agencies, a lot of data to analyze. And so we do have Jaime and Tamarin who are here with us, and they're going to come back to us a little bit later on. No matter where you're watching in the world, we want you to join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. We're simply going to ask you to use the hashtag SocialGovUSA. We will pick up your comments, your questions, and we will even bring them on screen. So make sure that you get your feedback and your questions into us. But the first thing that I want to ask you, if you're watching right now, please let me know, have you completed a social media audit in the past year? Any good social media manager will know that it's really important to understand where you are. For those organizations that are profiled in the State of Social Media Report USA, you've actually got a free 90-day audit from us, and that is contained in the report. So let me know if you're watching live, have you conducted an audit in the last year? Because if you have, then you will know where you are placed, what your benchmark engagement rates are, and indeed where you need to improve. So a little bit about the agenda and the formalities. We have some core business to get through before we announce who the stars of social media in the USA are from a government and public sector perspective. I'll go through the academic piece, why we conducted this report, the methodology that we used, the high-level findings. We also have some virtual awards to give out and go through the category winners, a little bit of look at content evaluation, some examples of best practice, recommendations, and we are going to have a conversation with you. So please hang around for that. And of course, if you're watching the replay, your comments and questions are most certainly welcome. So why this report? Well, there's one answer. This information and these insights do not currently exist. And so from my experience, having completed this report in Ireland and in Australia and soon to be the United Kingdom, I knew that benchmarking and comparing government and public sector with the private sector and the commercial sector, it just wasn't possible. And always I get asked, and I know that my counterparts and my peers get asked, how do we perform against our peers in public sector? That's what you want to know. And because that information wasn't to hand, I decided about 3 years ago to begin putting that together. And I've always had an interest of going into new markets, but of course it's really important that you work with somebody on the ground that understands the context. And so with Jaime, that partnership was born. A little bit around what has happened during COVID-19, and that has had an impact on the level of social media use. These are pictures from a piazza in Italy, and these are images that were broadcast right across the world at the early stages of 2020, when we saw the impact of the pandemic on citizens there. The world shut down. We had to stay behind doors, but effectively communications increased, and it increased online. It increased on social media. And in fact, in Italy, as one example, citizens there had an increased time spent on social media by 70%. And then more globally, messaging increased across WhatsApp, Messenger, and Instagram. And so from a government and public sector perspective, you have to navigate the world of digital in response to citizens. McKinsey wrote a report 5 years ago, and one of the findings of that report, and it's still relevant today, and they talk about the monopolistic mindset of government agencies. Now, what does that mean? It means that in some instances, you deliver communications in a singular way, and the public have no choice to receive communications because of that monopolistic mindset. But suffice to say, the social channels provide a remarkable opportunity to open up communications and also to build trust and transparency. Some of you might be aware of the Edelman Annual Trust Barometer that is released in January every year. And they, for many years, have found that trust was broken among government and public. But on the back of COVID-19, they decided to release a spring barometer. And what they found was that that trust gap was narrowing. And in fact, respondents to that survey said, we trust our governments if they communicate with us. We want our governments and public sector agencies to tell us how they're going to provide economic relief. Can you get our countries back to normal? Can you contain COVID-19? And please keep us informed. So the trust growth were in double digits. And so COVID has been a once in a lifetime incidence for many of us right now. Some of our ancestors have experienced pandemics before, but it's also provided this weird gift and this opportunity to now leverage and to lean into the trust that the public have for you. So you can see there that growth and a record high for government trust right across the world. This is a man that you might recognize. He's also Irish, actually. He hails from County Mayo, I believe also where the ancestors of President Biden come from. And his name is Mike Ryan. And Mike Ryan is Chief of Emergencies Program at the World Health Organization. And this is a clip from a press conference from April last year from the WHO. And listen to this. Guys, this is a message for all of you, and I hope you can hear it now. Let me play it.
I'd like to say, because we never ever get a chance to do this, is to really thank our media and social media teams. They're the silent heroes of our response and have engaged and understand that we don't go after the messenger. What we try to do is make sure that we replace bad information with good information. And that's as important in fighting a virus as any frontline health worker. So chapeau to our teams who do the silent work. I'd like to say.
Chapeau to our teams who do the silent work. What a really, really important message. And it's one that resonated with me, and I hope it's one that resonated with you. Now let's take a look at social media use in the United States right now. This is a study from Pew Research Center, launched in April 2021. And it shows you how the public are using social media right now. Top of the leaderboard is YouTube. And did you know that YouTube is the world's second largest search engine? So apart from it being profiled here as a social media network, it is owned by Google and it's the world's second largest search engine. So again, you've got to ask yourself, what is the YouTube opportunity for us? Coming in second among citizen use at almost 70% is Facebook, followed by Instagram at 40%, also owned by Facebook. Then we have Pinterest at under a third, then LinkedIn, Snapchat for younger audiences, WhatsApp at 23%, a channel also owned by Facebook. Then we have Twitter, and look at where TikTok is coming. TikTok was not profiled in this study, However, we might include it in 2022, coming in at 21%, currently the world's fastest growing social network. And if you look at what Facebook and Instagram has done, it's introduced TikTok-like videos in the form of Reels on the Instagram platform. So the US public are engaged, they are informed, and you have to be where your public is. So let's get into the report methodology. It might be a little bit less sexy than the findings, but I can tell you that it's really, really important to outline and to be very transparent with you as to our approach. And this is an independent report, and it's important to point that out. Our only mission and our North Star in this is to provide you with something tangible that you can take away and you can leverage for actionable insights. It was a bit of a painstaking process, and Jaime and his team will attest to that for sure. There is no single database of social networks for the United States for government and public sector. It does not exist. But what this report does is this report actually created it. So here's how we compiled all the data. Step one was to develop a database of government and public sector agencies that we wanted to profile. Then we visited each website of each government agency to find linked social networks. So we had hoped that you had your social networks linked on your website. From there, we then cross-referenced and we searched each social network for your agencies. We cross-referenced a second time on Google. Then we segmented all of that data by location, because you saw the map of the United States. That's how we were breaking it into categories. We segmented then all location categories by social networks, of which there are 4. Then we audited all of those data sets using third-party software. I also want to point out that at no stage did we have access to any of the social networks' admin or login details. This study is based on publicly available data. And then finally, we undertook a bit of a qualitative review in terms of content and the 3 Fs. And I go into a lot more detail in that in the report in terms of content form, frequency, and format. So now for some of the exciting reveal and going into the key high-level findings. When it comes to social media, one question that we all ask in this game is, what does success look like? Many of you social media managers might be asked by your line manager, your department head, the chief of police, head of your city council, utility or fire service to grow followers. Followers are vanity metrics, or as Sheryl Sandberg describes them, as metrics that matter, but not the full story. So we wanted to go into maybe metrics that give a fuller story. So apart from fans and followers and subscribers, we looked at another couple of key metrics. The second metric being engagement. So what percentage of the people that actually follow you are taking an action and engaging on your content? So like, comment, and share, video view, link, click. There's a third metric in here called PPI. This represents Page Performance Index. And what that means is it's a metric that combines 2 metrics. It combines your engagement rate, but also your growth, how your channel is growing. So how many new followers you're getting each month. And this is a percentage score out of 100, okay? If you're looking at the report and you see a line through any of these metrics, it means that there wasn't any enough data, so enough critical data in order for the software to bring it in. The next thing that we looked at, again, from a YouTube perspective only, is how many followers you were growing month on month on your channel, and then also YouTube only video views. The social networks that we audited were Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We did have data for LinkedIn, but unfortunately, when LinkedIn closed down its API in June 2020, it then disabled the ability for us to use third-party software to get that data. So hence why we have the 4. So in total, there were 736 Facebook pages audited, 646 Twitter accounts, 442 Instagram accounts, and 283 YouTube channels. This in itself tells a story. The story that it tells is that the favored social networks in the United States in our sample are Facebook, followed by Twitter. So what is a good engagement rate? And I really want you all to embrace these numbers and set them as your benchmark. I know that your peers in Ireland, Australia, and indeed across Europe are using my previous studies as benchmarks. And so the Irish study found that the average engagement rate is 0.3%. In Australia, they're quite outliers over there, 1.2%. And then globally, this is a study done by Social Insider, 0.3%. On Twitter in Ireland, the average engagement rate is 0.2%. In Australia, 0.11%, and then globally 0.06%. On Instagram in Ireland, the average engagement rate is 0.6%. In Australia, 0.9%, and then globally 1.1%. I'm going to show you momentarily where the United States fits compared to the global perspective. So here is the first set of results in terms of what we analysed, and actually those government and public sector accounts that came top. So some mighty performances there from right across the United States, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail. The one question that I often get asked when I present the results of this study from other countries is, but Joanne, how many team members do these high-performing government agencies have? And how many resources do they have from a budgetary point of view? And are they outsourcing their content creation? And those certainly are considerations. And the other thing that I want to say at this point is, you know, the winners and those that are category winners and who are high performing, you know, that does not come by just money alone. That comes from mindset, culture, commitment, and consistency. And also they're providing almost like a roadmap and a visionary for the rest of you to perhaps follow and to help achieve. So here is where the United States now sits when it comes to average engagement rates. So you can see that, oops, let me just go forward. Here we go. So we can see that, oh, I've gone, sorry, let me go forward. Here we go. I've got a very sensitive mouse, apologies. So where does the United States sit in terms of the global perspective and in comparison to the other reports? When it comes to Facebook, on a par with Ireland and the global perspective. When it comes to Twitter, actually on a par with the global perspective, but Ireland's Twitter engagement rate is coming up top. And then when it comes to Instagram, again, Australia, Ireland, and USA coming in really around at the same percentage, but globally, over the 1%, that's really where maybe you want to be hitting. So now you have some benchmarks for success. So yes, you want to grow your followers. Yes, you want to have consistency, but really look at that engagement rate and what percentage of our followers are actually engaging with the content. And that's a measure of success. So that brings me to the end of the report methodology, what we did, what we profiled. But one light bulb moment that I had when we were putting all of this together, please do your citizens a favor. And if you're not already, make it easy for them to find your social networks from your website. Be more socially discoverable. Make sure the name of your channels represent and are the same as the name of your organization. Be the single source of truth and be the trusted voice by showing up. So now I am going to ask our colleagues from Los Angeles to join me in the studio. And I'm just going to bring you guys right on screen here. So I hand over the baton to you, the social media baton, and you get to go through who the category winners and the federal and state winners are. So guys, it's over to you, and I will be your assistant on the screen.
Thank you, Joanne. As Joanne mentioned, we're going to be going over the top performers. We'll go through categories. And the most important part about this, and as everyone will be receiving this whole report immediately after, you can go through the details. So Tamara and I will go over the categories. We'll do some quick shout outs as well. But the details will be in the report for each one of you to be able to look at, take your time, review, and analyze yourselves as well.
So again, as we go into announcing these top performers, this will all be available to you guys in the report. So make sure that you register so you can get a copy, and also make sure you're taking the time to go and look up and follow these accounts so you can see the good work that they're doing. So this you have here on the screen. Again, we're not going to be reading every single one. We just don't have the time for that. But these are the top performers, which is by state, with most fans, followers, and subscribers. So congratulations. We have NYPD up there, City of Chicago, Miami up there on the top of the list. So congratulations, and make sure you give them a follow.
On top performers based by state, best engagement rate and YouTube views. A big congratulations to Riverside County Sheriff's Department, Austin Water, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and Florida Power and Light. And as we mentioned, please follow these to get an idea of how they're doing and being supportive as well.
Next, we have our top performers by state with the highest page performance index. It looks like we had a couple of people up in the 100% category there. So shout out to you guys for all staying on top of your game with your page performance index.
With most fans, followers, and subscribers on the federal level, we want to give a quick shout out to NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, with over 24 million fans.
Wow.
A lot to get to that level. On Twitter, again, back to NASA. Congrats on that social team doing some great work. And as well on the top on gold on Instagram, we have NASA coming in at 63, almost 64 million followers and subscribers to Instagram. So congratulations on there. Please follow them and see exactly the content that they're putting together to get to these high numbers.
Wow, I'm sure we're all jealous of those numbers.
Exactly,
right?
aren't we?
Maybe tag them to get a shout out. They could share some of the love. All right, some top performers on a federal level with the best engagement rates. Up at the top with gold, we have the U.S. Department of the Interior, U.S. Postal Service, and U.S. Navy. Looks like Navy took some other categories as well. And we have the U.S. Army, Air Force, and Department of Veteran Affairs.
So a good combination on the federal level, a variety of different ones. Some that I would not expect to be on the top level. So the interesting thing is, how do you have average information and content and make it spectacular? So these organizations have done a great job and to be able to be best engaged rates. On top performers, I think we've hit this already. Joanne, do you want to go to the category winners? Is the next phase on these announcements here?
All right, so this is going to be broken down by state. Obviously, we have the different platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Up on the screen first, we have Arizona. And that's ranking it by fans, engagement, and PPI. So there's your numbers there. Again, we're just going to go briefly through these states and announce them and give you guys opportunity to take a look and then look them up from the report.
Definitely, for a big shout out to our home state of California. Some big winners there. We see City of San Francisco, the Los Angeles International Airport, also known as LAWA. On Instagram, we have LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department. And on YouTube, again, topping Los Angeles Police Department, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. And then on growth on YouTube is LA International Airport as well. So congratulations to all of them.
Next, we have our friends over in Florida. As far as the fans, we actually have the Orlando International Airport at the top, which is interesting. We have on Instagram, Miami-Dade County, Miami Police Department on YouTube. They are doing some amazing things. I've been following their YouTube videos for a long time. And on Twitter, we have City of Orlando at the top.
So as we go on to the next state, the state of Georgia, the Georgia Peach, as they say. Some quick winners there is City of Atlanta on Twitter. Facebook, we see that Hartsfield-Jackson, Alerta International Airport. Instagram, back again on followers, is the City of Atlanta. Congratulations. On YouTube subscribers, we're seeing the Atlanta Police Department. So congratulations to all, and interesting to please see again what the work that they're doing.
Next, we have the state of Illinois. We have, as far as fans, at the top, Chicago Police Department. We also have them at the top for Twitter, YouTube. Oh, nope, I apologize. Chicago Police, City of Chicago, and City of Chicago for Instagram. So it looks like Chicago is kind of taking the gold with all the different platforms.
Definitely. The state of Kansas, a variety here as well. We're seeing a lot of public safety here on Facebook fan engagement. We're seeing Wichita Police Department. Twitter, again, we see Wichita Police Department coming in at on high on followers. On PPIs, we're seeing the city of Topeka. Shifting over to the Instagram platform on followers, we're seeing the Kansas City Police Department. Engagement, the Olathe Fire Department. And lastly, on YouTube, on a big shout out to City of Overland Park on subscribers. Great job, everyone.
We have our friends, next door in Nevada. As far as hitting at the top with Facebook, we have the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. They're also at the top with their Twitter game. We have City of Las Vegas with Instagram, and Las Vegas Metro Police, again, at the top with YouTube.
The state of New Jersey, about the East Coast, a variety here as well. Big congratulations to Monmouth County Police, Fire, and EMS. On the Twitter side, the city of New Jersey itself. On followers, on engagement in Instagram, Newark, New Jersey, Department of Public Safety. And on the YouTube platform, on video views, we see the city of Patterson. congratulations to that diverse group of public agencies.
Now we have New York. We have, as far as fans, on Facebook, the New York Police Department, NYPD. Twitter, we have the City of New York. We have New York Police Department, NYPD again on Instagram. And then as far as YouTube, we actually have NYC Water at the top with subscribers.
Great job there. The hometown of the Tar Heels, for those in North Carolina, Facebook, we have on the fan side, the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department. Congratulations there. Twitter on followers, the City of Charlotte. On Instagram on followers, again, congratulations to that team there, the City of Charlotte. And then lastly, on YouTube subscribers, the City of Durham, North Carolina. Great job, everyone there.
All right, now we have Ohio. We have the Facebook lead with fans, Columbus Division of Police. We have City of Cincinnati over on Twitter. For followers, again, we have the Columbus Division of Police on Instagram and City of Cleveland over on YouTube for subscribers.
The state of Oregon, on Facebook, we have the Portland Police Bureau. Twitter on engagement, with big shout out to Monmouth County Sheriff's Office. On Instagram with followers, we have the Portland Police. And on YouTube, on video views, a big congratulations, shout out to the City of Salem.
All right, now we have Pennsylvania. We have up at the top with the PPI for Facebook, City of Pittsburgh. It looks like we have a couple of people on the engagement side on Twitter that we're all at the top. We see a triple percentage, equal percentages there. But we also have City of Philadelphia up at the top with followers, Pittsburgh with the followers on Instagram. And we have, it looks like City Channel Pittsburgh with the subscribers on YouTube.
South Carolina on Facebook fans, big shout out to City of Charleston there. Twitter followers, we have the Richland County Sheriff's Department. On Instagram on engagement, the Columbus Metropolitan Airport. And on YouTube on subscribers, Richland County. Congratulations.
Yay, I was hoping I was going to be able to cover Texas. For those of you who know, I love Texas. Hello, friends, or howdy, friends over there. All right, so Facebook with the fans, we have Fort Worth PD. With Twitter, we have Dallas PD. And with Instagram, we have Dallas, the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. And we have City of Austin on YouTube.
The state of Virginia with Facebook fans, congrats to the Norfolk Police Department. Twitter on followers, the Metropolitan Police Department. On Instagram on engagement, the Fairfax County Fire and Rescue. Congratulations there. And on YouTube on the subscribers, the Metropolitan Police Department of DC. A good shout out to all of you. Thank you.
All right, now we have Washington. As far as the Facebook engagement, we have South County Fire. We have Pierce County Sheriff with engagement on Twitter. We have the City of Spokane with the engagement on Instagram. And we also have Seattle Public Utilities with the video views on YouTube.
Some of our federal level champion agencies on Facebook, we want to give a shout out again to NASA. What a great team they have there. They've won a variety of different categories. On Twitter, again, followers, we have the National Aeronautic and Space Administration, NASA. And then NASA again. Wow, NASA, we need to meet your team. Great on followers as well, champions. And on YouTube, this is, I think, where the work needs to be done. We didn't have enough information to be able to gather winners, so YouTube is going to be the interesting part of the analysis here. So congratulations to all on all three levels of government.
And again, make sure you take the time to check out the report in detail. All of this data and more is available, so make sure that you are registered online. You will receive a copy right when we are done.
Thank you, guys. And isn't it wonderful just to listen and to watch you go right across the states and to call out the amazing work that is being done by public information officers, by social media managers, assistants, because very often those working on the front line of public sector don't get called out, right, for their social media work. And as Mike Ryan says, they're the silent heroes who are on the front line fighting the infodemic. So yeah, I was so proud watching from this side of the world, and you guys giving out those congratulations right across the States. So I just want to touch a little bit on the qualitative aspect of the report. We know the numbers are great, but I think in terms of the content, because as you guys know, right, I'm preaching to the converted here. As everyone knows, it's the content that really is the inspiration to get the engagement. And you might know how to use the channels and all of the features, and you're really competent with the tactics, but it's the storytelling that matters most. So I did have a look at content, and in the report there are 3 full pages dedicated to content best practice. And what I'm giving you is the 3 F's: format, which is the multimedia content that you should be using cross-channel; frequency, the number of posts per week, plus of course consistency of posting; and then finally form, how you should structure your posts, thinking about tone, and then the relevance to your audience. So those that are kind of at the top of those categories and those leaderboards really understand content. And of course, in the report, there are 176 pages. We were not going to bore you with the detail, but it is a handbook that you can print out, download, and also have it by your desk. So I've just picked out a couple of best practice examples. Please forgive me. There were thousands, and it wasn't possible in this virtual event to showcase everyone. So I've literally just taken 4. And I know Tamarin and Jaime are thinking, how did she even choose just 4? It was just 4 that I've chosen. So first of all, I mean, Riverside County Sheriff's Department, what can I say? Go and have a look at their Facebook page. If you want to see how to run a Facebook page, and I mean, the social media managers complain about the problem with Facebook's organic reach. These guys don't suffer from a problem with Facebook's organic reach. They are skilled in storytelling. They are committed to video. They are also really good at going front of screen. Their commitment to trust and transparency and sharing information with their citizens is so evident. And look at the reactions that the public are giving them. So I thought they were a great example. We're going now to Pima County, and Pima County are providing our great public service on Twitter. You can see there they're dedicating the branding on their Twitter account to the COVID-19 vaccine, but they're also sharing some great information. There are pets on this Twitter account. They talk about the air quality in this Twitter account. Yes, they do talk about the vaccination program and where the centers or when the vaccination is happening, but it's a true reflection of public service and that authoritative voice, because as we know, Twitter is a place where you influence the influencers. Well, if Twitter is where you influence the influencers, Instagram is the lifestyle app in our pocket. And the North Las Vegas Fire Department really know how to engage an Instagram audience. And whoever said that Instagram was just for young people who are interested in, bloggers and makeup and fashion influencers? Believe it or not, the #1 social media trend in 2021 is actually the rise of the socially conscious citizen. So that means that the public who care about where they live, their environment, society, social justice issues, and they are alive and well on Instagram. So government and public sector have a real place on the app. But have a look at the visual appeal and the aesthetic, but the stories at the heart of the work that the North Las Vegas Fire Department do. They've also embraced Instagram TV, which, as we know, is a place for long-form video content. And I love this. Local government was locked down during COVID, but guess what? The conversations and the representation of their citizens did not stop. They embraced Zoom, and we see here Cleveland City Council. We're here seeing a still of a council meeting that they are broadcasting on their YouTube channel. And you can see that I've got some channel analytics I was able to pull up here. And only in the last 30 days, almost 2,000 views. And you might think that that's not a lot. They've got a niche audience. And remember, a view on YouTube is 30 seconds. And I think it's great to see that transparency and see the faces of your elected representatives on screen. So guys, that is just 4 big examples, and it's time for us now to have a discussion about what we found and what we're experiencing. So let's just remind guys, the viewers and those who are going to watch the replay, where you are, what you work at, the clients that you work at, and you guys have a wealth of experience in this space. So Jaime, go ahead and give people a kind of rundown on you and your company.
Definitely. Again, my name is Jaime Rojas with Rojas Communications Group. We have clients throughout the state of California, many of them municipalities, local government agencies. And the first thing they're always asking is, how do we engage very average content, in their heads at least, to the general public? And I think that's something that we're always dealing with our clients, is being able to do that. And going from there. I'll let Tamron introduce herself here.
Sure. Tamron Olden here, and I am with Talk Public Relations and Law Enforcement Social. And law enforcement is kind of my niche market. And law enforcement has traditionally kind of fallen behind the trends when it comes to social media communications and communications in general. It's that embedded culture of wanting to withhold information. But as you talked about in the very beginning of this seminar, Joanne, is the need to be transparent and the need to tell your own story. And so last year posed a lot of growing pains, we'll call them, with these law enforcement agencies. So it's been so great to see them evolve, get out of their comfort zone, and your data shows that who those rock stars are and how they are leading the way for other law enforcement agencies on the digital spectrum.
So were you surprised by the findings and the engagement rates in the report, or was that kind of a fair assessment of your experience in real life?
Good question. I think us being on the ground, we're seeing a very much an uptick. We weren't too surprised in the sense of the diversity of different public agencies. We've seen municipalities like cities, counties, special districts, fire, water, utilities. So what was more surprising, I think, in my opinion, was the diversity of agencies. But for us in our shops, they're calling us to help them in this segment. So we're seeing the growth. We're seeing the growth in our business and helping these municipalities. So it was interesting to see the diversity in the different government agencies.
I definitely agree with that. There was some where I was surprised at, wow, that's like we said, your normal people would term as non-interesting information, being showcased out there as top performers. That really shows. I mean, sometimes, I like to tease a lot of the public safety agencies. Okay, you guys have a lot of sensational, exciting stuff. You guys, there should be no reason you don't have content readily and available that's interesting. So when you see those people that you traditionally wouldn't think would show up in those top performers, it was really really interesting to see that. And shout out to them, because they're already starting with a disadvantage, but they were able to not only overcome that, but be someone who's up on the leaderboard for other agencies to look at.
Yeah, and Paulina is asking the question, are we going to get the PowerPoint presentation? Absolutely, for sure. Once the event ends, I'll make sure that the PowerPoint presentation and the recording and also the report gets to your inbox. Now, we've seen that Facebook is the most used social network. Then it comes Twitter. But Instagram is actually growing in popularity. We know that in terms of citizen use. So in your experience, are you finding that the public sector pros stateside are willing to jump into Instagram with a lot of enthusiasm?
For me personally, and I've said it for several years, I've been a huge fan of Instagram from the beginning. I saw the value in tapping into a different audience and demographic, which has now evolved to change and to be more diverse of an audience. But I really saw that as an opportunity to give people the chance to show their organizations in a more relatable light. It tends to be more of a visual platform, more of a casual platform to be able to relate to people. And having it in that format allows you to make true connections. People love the organic connections. They love seeing the behind the scenes and something that's not so scripted and posed. And I feel that Instagram is the ideal platform for that. I'm also seeing now that as agencies are bringing in staff to fill these roles as social media managers full time, that's also the demographic who utilizes Instagram more. So you're seeing it kind of change and evolve to where you have some organizations that actually get way more engagement, reach, and followers on the Instagram platform versus the others, because their audience and their community tends to favor that platform.
And Instagram, as looking at it, it's for many of the agencies that start off, Instagram is the best, easiest way to go. It's very simple. The usage of it, very little training at the beginning. And as you begin feeling comfortable, the visual ability for people to see what you're actually doing opens up a whole new dynamic. We're seeing with agencies, for example, sewage. I mean, who would think sewage would be something that people would be interested in? But many don't know the back end of what it takes, the infrastructure from beginning to end. So Instagram has the ability to make any of these agencies be engaging by using visual and video. It's incredible.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, there was a statistic that you guys pulled from your data that was really interesting to me of how many agencies are not on the Instagram platform, which was really interesting. And as I started to travel and teach this last year or so, one of the biggest areas that people were wanting training and information on was Instagram, because they were brand new to the platform. Right. So I really found that interesting, that there was such a large percentage of people or organizations that weren't present on Instagram.
Yeah, and those numbers are growing, as you say. People are now seeing the value because of their personal experience. They're now using it for the ability to showcase their public agencies.
And actually, I had Facebook and Instagram at my conference in Dublin about 2 years ago. And they said that in their experience on a global level, they're finding that public sector pros are really warming to Instagram because it's a place that they're welcomed. And the atmosphere and the tone is quite positive. So going front of screen there, and we know that people spend 60% more of their time on stories than they do on Grid and Insta, but they want to see a face, right? Mm-hmm. They want to see a human being speak to them. So that brings me to the whole going front of screen. We know that Facebook, has supported video, as has Twitter and live streaming, but Instagram more so really requires that person-to-person engagement. Are your clients willing to go a bit more front of screen and kind of use the phone and do a bit more of this?
It's funny for me. I always love it. It's kind of, you might say I'm a little evil, but during my trainings, because it is primarily law enforcement, they're typically not the group that really likes going on camera, that likes going live, that likes doing a lot of the fun videos or the conversational type interactions with the community in general, let alone on a social media network. So my goal always is to get them to just show up. And the thing that I like is that because people want to get the behind the scenes, because people want to see who you are and what you're about, I feel like they give you a lot of grace. That if you say, or you misspeak, or you don't look so perfect and polished in a Class A uniform behind a podium with a tie, with a script, I actually think that turns people off. Right. They want to, social media is social. It's having a conversation on the digital spectrum. And I'm seeing a little bit of a shift. I always tell my social media managers, find your superstars, find your rock stars who are willing to go put themselves out there, be the face of your organization, shed a light, and also give that behind the scenes perspective. That brings so much value and transparency. So like I said earlier, there's a lot of growing pains, but it's necessary, and you have to find those people who are willing to do it. Then once the momentum gets going and people see it's not that bad, you'll see some others who are willing to go and join in and support it.
And Joanne, as you said before, I mean, getting out of your comfort zone is crucial for this. And finding, as Tamron mentioned, those superstars, there's superstars in every agency. And it's a matter of just, holding hands at the beginning to get them comfortable, but let them be who they are. You don't want it scripted. You wanted them to be who they are naturally, being able to see what they do day in and day out. And that transparency is what helps improve engagement on the communities and stakeholders they serve. It's important for local government to be able to meet the needs of their community, but see what actually happens day in and day out.
Do you think that COVID-19 has almost shifted the gear and really put pressure on this sector to be more visible on social?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure all of us can attest to how busy we've been, and we're very grateful and blessed to have been busy over the last year or so, because this tied everyone's hands. You have to communicate. It's vital, crucial. It's crisis communications. And now you don't have the in-person meetings. You don't have your traditional forms of communication. So you need to figure it out. And although people came to that realization, they were able to, from what I saw in the agencies that I worked with, quickly pivot and realize, okay, we obviously, our strategy and our the way that we do things is not efficient and is not sufficient to be able to effectively communicate. We need to provide dedicated resources, staff. We saw a lot of agencies bring in outside consultants like all of us to be able to help them navigate. And now I think all the clients that I worked with during COVID for communications, I've been able to transition out and not have to be as hands-on. And now they've learned, and it's pushed them to grow a lot in a short period of time.
It's the matter of COVID hitting and the shutdown forced everyone to be able to think outside the box. That comfort level was pushed to the extreme. Some met the challenge and others haven't, and are continuing to figure out and, in a way to what's next for us, what works and what doesn't. But COVID was key in, I think, these upticks. And I think in the next couple of years, as we do an analysis from 2019 to where we're at, we'll see that the number and rise of social media platforms increase in this niche, because the need of communication and the development of trust to the community and transparency being number one.
I know I've seen a huge increase in agencies that are now hiring full-time staff dedicated to content creation, to social media management, to PR and marketing for their agencies, whereas a lot of times they didn't have the staff, they didn't have the budget, the training, the resources, the supplies, the equipment, because it was an ancillary assignment that people didn't value. And last year actually did the profession a lot of good. There was silver lining in all this, I think, for everybody in the communications world.
One thing that I was surprised about is that how aligned the engagement rates are right across the world, from Ireland to Australia to the United States. That's telling us a story that government and public sector are really in a space where they have a right place to speak, right? Not just brands, but they need to be here.
Yeah, people they're wanting this. I always say, think of it as your modern day form of communication. People will communicate, before they traditionally communicated through in-person meetings, through emails. And even that is now becoming a passé form of communication. So for those who've been able to come forward and pivot their communications methods, they've been doing well, because like you said, there's a huge need, and that goes across the globe.
We're seeing what government is known to do, be slow about the usage to its stakeholders, but realizing that the need is cost effective if done right. And as Tamara mentioned, budgets are being increased as we see fiscal years coming in to be able to meet the demand of this form of communication. It's necessary, and the government agencies slowly pivoting to that area.
Yeah, so some love for Instagram here, for sure, from one of our viewers, and also not only younger, we're being reminded, but older as well. All around my favorite.
Absolutely. We're seeing a huge shift in looking at the analytics of the users, where there was a huge gap between Facebook and Instagram. And now that gap is closing and your numbers are starting to transition, which is great. I think it's great to have people present on the different platforms because they each have something different to offer.
Let's talk a little bit about the marriage of traditional communications and also social. I think the perfect match is both of those together. So we're not saying in this report, ditch your PR, ditch your media advertising or your in-person events. What we're really saying is social can complement what you're already doing.
It has to be robust. I mean, the diversity of your stakeholders is that they're diverse. And to be able to reach everyone, you have to be able to use the tools that is necessary to reach as many people as possible, and constantly. Content is king, and being in person does make a big difference, but you can't have people come in person all the time. The ability for the phone and digital time, we have to adjust to those changes.
Yeah, I actually had a PIO class that I was teaching this week. You forget the value in the diversity of the old school, I guess, as some would term it, ways of communicating. And I had someone in class from Mono County who said there's still a large demographic in their community that does not have social media, does not even have internet access, and still relies on your in-person and your local weekly paper. And, it's hard for us to grasp that concept. I said, really? And he said, yes, absolutely. A very large number. So we don't want to, as they say, put your eggs all in one basket. And you can't forget that you have to know your community and know the best way to communicate with them. And by having a communication strategy in place, evaluating that and adjusting as you move forward is going to be key in making sure you stay on top of effectively communicating with the public.
Not everything works in every agency. I mean, the good example there in an urban and rural area where internet might not be as accessible in some of these hard to reach areas. So that's again, you have to evaluate what works best and what doesn't in your community.
So I know we didn't cover TikTok in this report. There just wouldn't have been enough critical data. We might in 2022, but have you had experience of any of your clients embracing TikTok?
I see good and bad. I feel like it's, and I have to be careful. I'm trying to be nice here. I feel that agencies either do it really well and embrace it. And for me, I think the key element in embracing it properly is having the right people, because it's all about personality, delivery, having the right person to be that face, to be able to be lighthearted and be fun. On the other side, I've seen some disastrous things that I just shake my head at, because they're trying to fit into this platform in a way that's not coming off. A lot of times it's coming off as unprofessional. It comes off as that they're just chasing vanity metrics, as I like to say them, for the views, but there's no true value in what they're doing. So shout out on TikTok and on Instagram Reels, because that obviously very similar, and they will cross post that platform on those platforms. CHP West Valley doing amazing, and Phoenix Police Department. Those are two that I would go take a look at. I am highly entertained by them. They're put together very well, but they're also good at using it to put out important messages in a format that's a lot more appealing, which is very difficult to do. So those are some of the agencies that I've seen. So shout out to them. Go and check out their pages. Great ideas. And they've gotten some really good feedback and reach and engagement.
And here's a perfect example of know your audience. Who are you trying to reach out? I mean, that's a specific niche group, as well as internally. Who's able to understand that platform? Snapchat is a younger age group, and the ability to also think outside in that area. It has to be someone who comes naturally. You can't force it. And it's very obvious to everyone outside if you're forcing something that's unnatural to that specific demographic and to that specific platform.
And so what are the next steps for the organization's profile? But there are thousands that we just physically couldn't get around to. I mean, what's your advice to them?
That's a good question. I think it all begins at the very beginning in analyzing and understanding your audience. Who are they? What is it best way of communicating and doing an audit from the very beginning? Once you know and understand your stakeholders, you're able then to put the tools to be able to make it work. Snapchat might not be for everyone. Twitter might not be for everyone, but you have to look and analyze and know your resources as well, because you want to maximize the resources that you have. And if you're there, we're going to do everything and not do it well, that's not going to work either. So you have to maximize your resources and understand and know best your own audience.
I'm a big fan of putting together, although it's very time intensive, it's so valuable, especially with instances like we experienced last year, is putting together a strategic communications plan. Most agencies do not have them. And part of that, the big part, is analyzing what you're doing well, what type of response, what your improvement areas are, looking at policies and procedures as well, looking at your budget, your staffing, your resources. How can you put together a plan, set goals and timelines, test different things, do A/B testing and see what works well, go back and revisit your data, analyze the response, and then make your adjustments as needed. But here's the thing, what works now is not going to work next year. And that's what happens is they have these strategic plans or communications plans that they put together in 2017, and it's completely outdated because they don't see, they don't take the time to really, truly update it constantly and make sure that it's relevant.
It can't be static, just like life. Everything changes and you have to adjust to it, pivot, and always keep analyzing to see what works and what doesn't. And I also recommend it's okay to test things. It's okay to put yourself out there and see what works and what doesn't, and what makes you feel comfortable as the agency, as well as what resonates with your audience.
Last thing I'd like to share on this topic, one of the biggest frustrations, I guess you would say, or roadblocks that a lot of organizations face in dealing with trying to progress and move forward with their communications on social media is that they don't feel like they have the support and the buy-in. And that is the most important thing, because if you get frustrated, that leads to burnout, that leads to roadblocks, that leads to not being timely. It leads to really feeding into that distrust because people are looking at you to communicate with them. But if you have to go through 10 people to get something approved and there's too much bureaucracy, I mean, there's no other way around saying it, that it really does make it frustrating for us to do our job. So make sure that your organization has that buy-in from the top down, that they make communications one of their staple goals of their organization. So that way everybody is on the same page, everyone supports the mission, and it makes your job a lot easier. So work with your administrators, work with your supervisors to be able to implement these strategies and really get that buy-in. Leadership
is crucial in making this successful. You might have the best plan, but if you don't have buy-in from leadership, it might as well not have a plan.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree with you more, because in my experience, if the culture and mindset does not exist and that comes from the top down, then you're going to see a disassociation from, the strategic point of view to the front line where the great stories can be told. Where can people find out more about your work? We are all in the same game of consulting, training, and I want people to follow up. We've got the report on screen, but if they want to get in touch with you guys, where can they go?
To our website, which is rcgcommunications.com. All our handles are placed right there. Feel free to reach out to us. I know Tamara and I work well together. Tamara, what your information?
So my personal handle, you can reach out to me directly, is just first and last name, simple, Tamara Olden, across all platforms. And then also Law Enforcement Social and TOC Public Relations are the two companies. We have websites. We're across all of our platforms. We would like to be a resource. I always tell people, don't hesitate to reach out, to run something by me. I'm not going to charge you for that. We're all in this together. And it's so valuable to be able to partner with you guys. I always say people, hey, you guys are working together. Don't you work in the same space? Yes, we absolutely do. But I'm all about collaboration and not competition. There's enough work out there and there's such a need. There's enough out there for all of us that we're able to be more valuable if we unite to be a better resource. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Sometimes if it's just to vent because you're frustrated, sometimes that's okay too. We'd be happy to make ourselves available to you.
Definitely.
Yeah, guys, make sure that you follow up. And I know I've got a summit coming up in September, and I have some great speakers from the United States, and you'll see that on our website. But Tamron, you also have an event coming up, am I right, in the autumn?
I do. So for those of you who are familiar with California, or even if you're not, I'm sure you've all heard of Palm Springs. So there's bonus number 1. So you could come hang out in Palm Springs in November, where it's a lot cooler and nicer out there. But I am having a conference out there, LESMCon 2021, where we're bringing in all the experts from the industry. Jaime's going to be there. We're bringing in so many of these industry leaders when it comes to communications and providing workshops and panels and networking opportunities to just help everybody move forward and continue to progress, and to be able to connect them with some people in the industry who are doing it right.
I want to say it's been an absolute pleasure to collaborate with you guys on the state of social media and the public sector USA report. It's taken 6 months for us to get here, but I think when everyone gets their hands on the copy, they will know why it took us so long, and it will absolutely be worthwhile. I want to say that this is only the beginning of the conversation. All of us are going to follow that hashtag #SocialGovUSA. The 3 of us will continue to promote, advocate, and support you when it comes to social media. But for now, I want to wrap up proceedings. I want to thank you to those who watched live, and also when you're watching the replay, we appreciate you showing up. To Jaime and to Tamron, thank you so much. I'll leave the final words to you.
I just wanted to say thank you. You guys are rock stars. I just showed up in the end as a panelist after you guys spent so much time and resources and energy into putting together this amazing report that I can't wait to share. This is so valuable. It's a big commitment. So I don't think, not only has nobody done it, but I don't think there's many out there who would be willing to take on this task that you guys did. So thank you so much. This document that you put together is going to really, really help people progress. And I just am so grateful to be part of this. So thank you again to both of you for having me.
No, and thank you, Joanne. The collaboration between all of us was incredible. A great work doesn't happen overnight, as well as great people connect for good reasons. And I think the reason we connected was to be able to put a product out there and information that's crucial and relevant to the time. So thank you for the both of you for allowing to collaborate all together.
Yeah, and look, here it is. I got it printed. It's 176 pages.
Oh my goodness.
Look at that. It's massive, but it really is. This shows our commitment to the sector and our commitment to elevating the standard in the public good. So with that, it's good evening and good night from Galway. And good morning.
It's lunchtime. It's lunchtime for us, so we'll be having lunch.
All right. Well, listen, this is going to appear in a podcast on the Public Sector Marketing Show. I know we're all going to have it up as replays on our platforms, and I'll see you on the hashtag on social. So thanks, everyone, and good evening.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.